would like to call this meeting to order and ask the clerk to call the roll.
Councilmember Clifford. Here. Councilmember Evans. Present. Councilmember Gruber. Here. Councilmember Lightfoot. Councilmember Ortiz. Councilmember Patterson. Here. Councilmember Spall.
Here.
Vice President McFadden.
Here.
President Scott.
Here. I'd like to note that this is a confirmation hearing for the Emergency Communications Director position. And also to let you know that Councilmember Lightfoot is out of town at a National League of Cities conference, so he won't be with us today. But we're here today to hold the confirmation hearing as required by the city charter in regards to the appointment of the city's Emergency Communications Director. Before us this month for consideration is introductory number 387, legislation appointing Michael Soretto to serve as the Director of Emergency Communications. Mayor Warren, would you like to make a statement?
Thank you, Council President, and I know that Mr. Soretto will give you a lot about his background and details, but I believe him being a career law enforcement official, understanding the 911 system, being able to work with the county's emergency and management team, as well as our 911 systems is very, very important. He brings a lifelong experience in law enforcement, having worked for the New York State Police and the state of New York. I believe he'll be a wonderful addition to our team, and I'm asking City Council to confirm him in his development and ability to make sure that the 911 system is operational. And also, one of the key things that we talked about is the diversity of the management team and staff, which is something that we have talked about for a long period of time. He understands that that is a priority, that the system and the structure actually reflects the community that it serves. And I am thankful that he considered taking this position given his background, and am excited that he, once confirmed, will be a part of our team.
Thank you, Mayor Warren. We'll now begin the confirmation hearing for Michael Soretto. Mr. Soretto, would you like to make an opening statement?
Yes, I would. Good afternoon, and thank you for this opportunity to formally introduce myself to the members of the Rochester City Council. I know you are representing the citizens of Rochester in this confirmation process, so I very much appreciate this opportunity to share my vision for emergency management, emergency communications with you, and by extension, the community I now serve. I am honored and thrilled to work with Mayor Warren's administration and the Rochester City Council to lead the Emergency Communications Department. I have been blessed to have worked for the New York State Police for more than 3 decades, and that experience taught me that the men and women of 911 are the unsung heroes of a successful emergency response. I am well acquainted with the Rochester Emergency Communications Department, as I was once the State Police Commander of the Rochester Zone. I am looking forward to working with the men and women of this department and taking an already outstanding operation to the next level of excellence. And I will tell you what I told Mayor Warren when she recruited me for this position. One of my first priorities will be to improve the diversity of the ECD at all levels. It is absolutely imperative that the ECD reflect the community it serves, and to be frank, that starts with the racial and gender makeup of the staff. When a public safety agency reflects its community, it has taken the first step in building a level of trust between that agency and the community they serve. And you can't have public safety without trust. When you have a truly diverse workforce, you have a diversity of races and genders, and you have a diversity of life experiences, all of which make that workforce better. Under my watch, this will apply to the Rochester Emergency Communications Department. I'd like to thank you again for this opportunity to formally introduce myself, and I would be glad to answer any questions that you might have.
Thank you, Mr. Soretto. I'm very pleased to hear that you are committed to ensuring diversity and increasing the reflection of our community as a whole. Tell me please, as I look through your resume, your bio, I don't see that. Of the work that you've done, what have you done in advancing diversity? One of the things you had was the expansion of some unit significantly. There's been a lot of expansion. How much of that were you able to embody in that as it relates to ensuring diversity in those ranks?
Well, first of all, as a troop commander, running a troop that supervised 8-county region of Western New York, I was actively involved in recruiting diversity into the ranks of the state police in the Buffalo region. On top of that, I've always mentored my subordinates to move them along up the ranks, because my feeling has always been that if you don't have diversity at the top of the organization, it's going to be very hard for you to recruit at the working level. People coming into an organization need to know that there's a path forward to move ahead.
Has any of your work been in an urban environment?
Yes, it has. I worked when I was in the Rochester zone, we ran the impact teams that worked in the city of Rochester along with the Rochester City Police Department to secure the areas of the city that were in need of more police.
Questions?
Thank you, Mayor, for such a great appointment, and I think your resume speaks for itself in terms of your experience in law enforcement, and look forward to working with you. And I know I mentioned this to you when I saw you earlier. Can you talk a little bit about being a 911 dispatcher, working in the 911 center is a tough job. The hours aren't the greatest. It's not 9 to 5. It's a 24/7 operation. Can you talk a little bit about some of the things that you think tools we could use to recruit people to get them to take the job, but more importantly, getting people to stay, the retention of folks in that center?
You know, I know yesterday was a very difficult day for the Rochester community, but it was very fortunate for me that I was able to witness the professionalism of the staff that the city has working that 911 center. The way they performed yesterday was outstanding. So what I would try to do would be to let some of that stuff get out to the public when we're in our recruiting, to show how professional of an operation that we run. It's a very well-paying job. It has a pension. It's got very good benefits. And one of the things I would do, like I said earlier, is I want to really look at the structure of the organization from the top to bottom, to work on diversity throughout, especially at the top in the supervisory ranks. But if we work on the morale and at all levels, and we can keep a happy workforce, they'll help us retain people, and that's what I look forward to doing.
Thank you.
Huh?
Thank you. Mr. Soretto, I'll just start by saying we have some lovely homes for sale on Seneca Parkway. You're already on the west side. You're just a couple miles east. We'd love to have you in the Northwest District. Just thought I'd put in that plug. Aside from that, though, I know you don't have a lot of direct experience with 911. I know you did some expansion when you were with the troopers. And certainly I have been in jobs where I haven't been a technical expert, and doesn't take away your leadership ability. But can you talk a little bit about how you'll go forward in learning more about the technical aspects, and sort of how you'll negotiate your way through some of those issues?
Well, I plan on being there every day, working closely at every level of the operation, during all shifts of the operation. Also, I'll be getting trained up on how the equipment works. I've already set some of that up for some future trainings, but I'm going to surround myself with the experts in those fields so I can learn them better. That's how I plan on moving forward.
Great. One of the issues from my time in the fire department, and I don't think that it's changed much, but obviously having this dual reporting, or at least a dual oversight from both the county and the city, when there are issues that arise, whether it's around the CAD or the radio systems, I know sometimes there's a frustration on the city side because our agencies tend to be the heaviest users, and it's kind of a delicate balance in negotiating between the two. So I believe, and I think my colleagues do too, that, you know, the city has to be really strongly represented with the county to make sure that we are getting our fair share of resources, and really are sort of wielding the power that we should have, because we are, again, such heavy users. So I don't know if you can speak to, have you had experience where you've had to deal with several different levels of oversight or supervision, and how you work through that?
Well, being with the state police, we have a lot of different people that we deal with at all different levels of government. You have to have the right personality to handle that. I believe I have that. I've had that ability to work with anybody at all different levels, even if they disagree, throughout my career, especially when I was working as the director of the Office of Counterterrorism for the governor. There was a lot of different opinions on how things would go. I would deal with issues that came up down in New York City that might not be the same, have the same opinions of Albany. I was able to work through all of them in my 3.5 years there. I feel that I'll be able to do that here. I'm well aware of the issues that come up, because I have worked within this system for 8 years as a captain. We had to utilize it very thoroughly with the state police when I was here. So, and I've been at those meetings. Most of the stuff didn't affect me at the time, but I watched how they went through the process, and I believe that I'll be able to assist in making sure that the Rochester Police Department and the fire department gets what they need.
Great, thank you.
Thank you. I just want to ask a couple of thoughts. You know, some of us are in the emergency business, emergency housing, emergency shelter, and other kinds of responsiveness. I always tell my team, hurry but don't rush. And often, you know, when we do emergency kind of provisions, we're in a hurry. We should hurry, but we can't rush. So how do you balance the need to be, you know, on time and nimble and completely, you know, ready and on board with the fact that there's a diligence that also must be there as well? I don't know what your personality style. I'm sorry, I know we've met, but I don't know much about you. And just, I'm wondering how you bring a management style that is a balance of both nimbleness, which is what's needed, and then also diligence in terms of oversight.
I'm sorry, I didn't really hear all the questions. I don't hear very well.
Oh, I'm sorry.
But I think I got the rest of what you want. I think that you have to be calm when everyone amongst you is not. Mm-hmm. I've always had that ability. I think that by ensuring that you have the best trained, you know, folks working for you, and you have supervisors that make sure they're on top of the situation to provide guidance and a level of supervision over them to make sure they're doing their job right. I think that's how you move forward, and that's how you get the best job done.
Thank you.
President Scott, I have one question. So in your decorated resume, I see you've had a lot of positions, but what I'm wondering about is what you've done in terms of technology and addressing technology, which I assume is a very huge part of what a 911 operator has to be kind of very aware of, how to communicate fast, how to be on top of all of the most recent technology to communicate quickly. Have you ever overseen, in any of your positions, significant technological upgrades or anything like that?
a year and a half ago, I was directed by the governor to start up the state's cyber incident response unit. As part of that, we had to implement, hire the right people. We had to make sure they had the right training. We had to make sure they bought the right equipment to implement the ability to respond out to local governments to assist them with any cyber event they might have. And throughout my career in the state police, I was involved in numerous implementations of not directing it, but involved in it, and moving over from to different record management systems and different radio systems.
Thank you.
Last year, I could, I guess, speak on behalf of the council. I think we all were a little embarrassed when someone posts pictures of employees in the 911 center sleeping on the job. Would like to know how you would handle such a thing, and for you to describe your management style a little bit.
Well, my management style is I'm hands-on. I lead by example. I don't expect my employees to do anything that I wouldn't do. The situation that you mentioned, the way I would correct it to make sure that it doesn't happen again is I would be empowering my supervisors and holding my supervisors fully accountable for the people that are under them. To me, that was a complete lack of supervision.
If further questions, thank you, Mr. Soretto. This concludes your hearing. The council will formally take action on this intro, number 387, at the Committee of the Whole meeting following this afternoon.
Thank you, ma'am.
And will be acted on at the council meeting next Tuesday as well. Thank you. Let's see. Find this little gavel. Okay. There. That makes it official. Okay. The finance. Right?
Yep.
Okay.
Could the clerk please call the roll?
Vice President McFadden.
Here.
Councilmember Clifford.
Here.
Councilmember Evans.
Present.
Councilmember Patterson. Here. President Scott.
Here.
The record reflect we're also joined by everybody else with the exception of Councilmember Lightfoot and Ortiz. Introductory item number 349, approving wage and salary increase for employees of the Rochester Housing Authority. Are there any questions or comments on this issue, item? Can I get a second? All in favor? Aye. Against? Motion carries. Introductory item number 350, authorizing an amendatory agreement for the Kronos Incorporated. Comments? Questions?
Second.
All in favor? Aye. Against? Motion carries. Introductory item 351, authorizing an agreement for the City Start 2018 grant program. Comments or questions on this item?
Move it.
All in favor? Aye.
Aye.
Against? Motion carries. Introductory item number 385, resolution establishing the schedule of council committee meetings and public hearings during the 2019 year. Comments or questions?
Move it.
Second.
All in favor? Aye.
Aye.
Against? Motion carries. Introductory item number 386, resolution establishing the schedule for regular meetings of the council during 2019. Comments or questions?
Second.
All in favor? Aye. Against? Motion carries. Is there any other items to come before the committee? Not, we're adjourned.
At this time, I call the Neighborhood and Business Development Committee to order, and I ask the clerk to call the roll.
Councilmember Patterson.
Here.
Councilmember Lightfoot. Councilmember Ortiz. Vice President McFadden. Here. President Scott.
Here.
Okay. Introductory number 352, authorizing the sale of real estate. Questions, comments, concerns? Seeing none, need a motion and a second.
So moved.
All in favor? Aye. Motion passes. Introductory number 353, authorizing a lease agreement with Abbott's Frozen Custard. Questions, comments, concerns? Seeing none, need a motion and a second.
Second.
All in favor, aye?
Aye.
Item passes. Introductory number 354, authorizing a lease agreement with Rochester Youth for Christ Incorporated. Need a motion? Questions, comments, concerns? Seeing none, need a motion and a second.
Second.
All in favor?
Aye.
Item passes. Introductory number 355, determinations and findings related to the acquisition of properties to effectuate the Bull's Head Urban Renewal Plan. Public hearing to be held at 5 p.m. after the October 11, 2018 committee meeting. Questions, comments, concerns? Councilmember Clifford.
Thank you. I just had a question about the businesses that are, currently in business. Are we working with them to relocate within the city?
Yes, we will work with all the businesses that'll be part of the relocation.
And
Not
they've all
only
been
there and
notified, I imagine.
Excuse me?
They've all been notified?
Yes.
Yeah, okay. So, actively, thank you.
Any other questions, comments, or concerns? All right, so seeing none, what do we need? We need a motion and a second?
Move to consider.
All in favor? Aye. Item passes. Introductory number 356, authorizing the acquisition by negotiation or condemnation of properties and abatement, demolition, and environmental due diligence activities to effectuate the Bull's Head Urban Renewal Plan. Motion, need a motion and, comments, questions, concerns? Need a motion and a second.
Second.
All in favor, say aye. Aye. Item passes. Introductory number 357, bond ordinance of the City of Rochester, New York, authorizing the issuance of, $1,375,000 bonds of said city to finance costs of the acquisition, abatement, and demolition of the properties to effectuate the Bull's Head Urban Renewal Plan. And questions, comments, concerns? No questions, no comments, no concerns?
Move to adopt.
All in favor?
Aye.
Item passes. Introductory number 358, amending ordinance number 2018-35, authorizing the acquisition of 855 West Main Street. Comments, questions, concerns?
Councilmember,
Yes.
this item and introductory number 359, you're going to have to skip because Jackie's not here and Loretta's a member of Redco and has to abstain, therefore you don't have a majority to vote.
Okay, so we'll just hold them? All right. Well, in that case, we'll be holding introductory number 358 and introductory number 359 in committee. Introductory number 360, adopting a finding statement for the vacuum oil South Genesee River Corridor Brownfield Opportunity Area Implementation Strategy. Questions, comments, concerns? Seeing none, need a motion and a second.
So moved.
All in favor, please say aye. Aye. Item passes. Introductory number 361, amending the zoning map for 5 and 15 Flint Street. Public hearing to be held at 5 p.m. after the October 11th, 2018 committee meeting. We will be holding this item in committee. And at this time, I would ask, do any of our colleagues have any questions, comments, or concerns about this item? No questions, no comments, no concerns, no issues. Okay, so we'll move right along then. Introductory number 362.
Did
Sorry?
we do?
We held it.
Did we actually vote on it?
We held it.
Okay.
Yeah.
Okay.
Okay. Introductory number 362, amending the 2009 through 10, 2014-15, 2015-16, 2016-17, and 2017-18 consolidated community development plans and authorizing appropriations of community development block grant funds to infrastructure improvements. Public hearing to be held at 5 p.m. after the October 11, 2018 committee meeting. Questions, comments, concerns? Councilmember
Thank you.
Clifford.
I just had a question about, I had asked a question about the Campbell Street Arts Center and how much funding was going to be required, which I think was answered. So, and I'm sorry that I can't find my answer sheet here, but
364,000.
thank you, 364. I know it was in that range. So 364 is going to get us from here to here.
Yes.
Yes, that's
Yes.
it all?
Yes.
All right, excellent, thank you.
Well, let me say that's the plan. Yes.
Understood.
So, any other questions, comments, or concerns? Okay, seeing none. Need a motion?
Move to consider.
And a second. Second. All in favor? Aye. Hello? All in favor?
Aye.
Bring your bicycles, baby. Bring your
Come on now.
bifocals, man.
Come on
Bring your
now, come on
bifocals.
now.
Okay. Introductory number 363, authorizing payment in lieu of taxes, loan agreements for the Veterans Outreach Center at Liberty Landing Affordable Rental Housing Project. Questions, comments, concerns? Seeing no questions, comments, and concerns, need a motion and a second?
So moved.
Thank you. All,
What's going on?
all in favor, please say aye.
Aye.
Okay. All opposed? Item passes. Okay. Introductory number 383, authorizing the acquisition of 1540 and 1560 Lake Avenue. Questions, comments, concerns? Yeah or no?
Thank you. I just want to, make sure that I'm clear on how we got to these figures. So, according to the property information system and our assessment, these two properties are worth in the neighborhood of $360,000. But we have an assessment for 1.5 million that is the current assessment, independent assessors. And then with remediation, a value of 2.8 million. Can somebody just give me some more information on how that works? How do we get from 360 to 1.5?
Well, the assessment is one thing, but the appraisal you're talking about.
Yes,
So
you're
we
right.
had a third-party fair market appraisal. We had an appraisal, and it came in at $1.5 million as is, which means unremediated in this instance. And then the developer, the owner, came in with his appraisal for $2.8 million as remediated. So obviously, the delta is the cost of the remediation. We had one set of costs for the remediation. They argued a different set of costs for remediation. So we had a very long, obviously extenuated negotiation process where we ended up, it's two parcels of land. The
Right.
front parcel, where we're going to build the police station, does not require any remediation. The back parcel, where the car dealership was, has different levels of remediation that's required. So what we're going to do is acquire the front parcel immediately and commence construction of the police station once all the authorizations come in. And then meanwhile, during the course of that construction, the back parcel, which is essentially the parking lot, will be remediated. So in theory, or planning-wise, we finish both on the same day. We finish building the building and finish paving the parking lot, and we have the ribbon cutting for both on the same day.
Like Campbell
I'm not
outside,
sure it'll
right?
be
Yeah,
perfectly,
okay. Right.
So we went back and forth between cost, value, and the cost of the remediation. So we ended up offering them $1.5 million for both parcels, taking title to the front parcel first, and then we required them to go into the brownfield cleanup program and pay for the remediation out of their own pocket. So we were always stuck with that $2.5 million or the $2.8 million as remediated appraisal. So we always thought that if we could come in and we could be comfortable with the remediation costs coming in, our target number was $2.5 million, and we came in and they're going to get $1.5 million, and then we're going to pay them $826,000 upon remediation of the second site. So the
Okay.
total will be 2,236,000, which is far less than our 2,000,005 target and less than the 2,000,008 appraised value.
So when we talk about the owner shall be solely responsible for the expenses totaling $650,000 or less, how does that figure in to those figures? Are we essentially?
No, we're not paying twice. We're not paying
Right,
twice.
okay, so,
So the purchase price is 2,236,000.
yeah,
And they are responsible for the first $650,000 of the cleanup costs out of their own pocket.
okay.
They argue, they think that they can get it done for less than $650,000 and keep the difference. So when we argued that the remediation costs could possibly be higher, they wanted to raise the purchase price if we were going to force them to pay the higher price for the remediation. We went back and forth, and ultimately said, we will fund an escrow account that can only be drawn on to the extent that the remediation costs exceed what they predict to be the cost. So in theory, we could be paying the 2,236,000 plus 150, depending on what the costs really unfold. That they are convinced they can do it for far less. We're not so convinced. But the numbers, when the worst case scenario, when you add them up, still does not come close to the 2,000,005 or the 2,000,008.
So the independent appraisal takes into account factors like the site's marketability for other uses. I'm assuming the development of Eastman Business Park and other factors. It just, obviously when you look at 360, and I realize the difference between the assessment and the appraisal is vast, but it's a big number, right? Okay, I think I understand. And obviously those lots, having been vacant for as long as they have been and having been an eyesore for the neighborhood, and obviously a lot of great things happening at Eastman Business Park and environs, I think there's a lot of support for this project. I do have to ask, though, just even though we are going down this road, has anyone looked at the TOPS site?
Yes.
Okay,
I don't know if,
because I know it's a
Yes.
4-acre site. It's,
Yes, we have looked at that site. The problem with the site is that the entrance and egress is the way that it's structured. It will not allow for the proper flow of cars.
yeah.
The way that it is currently facing, it has its side to basically the street, and its location is further south than we need it to be if something was happening at the beach. And so and also that site didn't come online until well after we were in negotiations with Peeler and had already gone and spoken to the community about the Peeler site. But our police department did take a look at it, and according to what they need, and there are some very strict requirements that they need, they didn't feel that it would be conducive to what they need in order to build a police station.
Yeah, the ingress and egress of Lincoln Ridge are a lot better, and that's a dangerous segment of Lake Avenue as it is, so I can only imagine it would have to undergo some serious rehabilitation if we even.
that site is heavily contaminated.
Is that interesting? Okay, all right. Okay, thank you.
Any other questions, comments, or concerns? Seeing none, need a motion and a second.
So moved.
All in favor? Aye. Item passes. Introductory number 384, bond ordinance of the City of Rochester, New York, authorizing issuance of 2,346,000 bonds of said city to finance the cost of acquiring of 1540 and 1560 Lake Avenue. Need a motion and a second?
Second.
All in favor? Aye. Item passes. That concludes the business of the Neighborhood and Business Development Committee.
I'd like to call to order the Parks and Public Works Committee, and I would ask that the clerk call the roll.
Councilmember Evans?
Present.
Councilmember Gruber?
Here.
Councilmember Spall?
Here.
Vice President McFadden?
Here.
President Scott?
Here.
Thank you, and we're joined by our other council colleagues. The first introductory is introductory number 364, authorizing an intermunicipal agreement with the County of Monroe for solid waste and recycling services. Any comments or questions on introductory 364?
So moved?
Second.
All in favor?
Aye.
Ayes have it. Thank you. All introductory number 365 is authorizing additional funding for the improvement to the Cobbs Hill basketball courts. Questions, comments, or concerns on introductory 365?
So moved.
Been
Second.
moved and seconded. All in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
Aye, the ayes have it. Thank you. Introductory number 366 is authorizing appropriations and agreement for the East Henrietta Road Improvement Project, South City Line to Stanyell Drive. Questions, comments on 366?
So moved?
Second.
Been moved and seconded. All in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
Ayes have it. Thank you very much. Introductory number 367 is a bond ordinance of the City of Rochester, New York, authorizing the issuance of $230,000 in bonds of said city to finance construction and construction inspection services related to East Henrietta Road Improvement Project, South City Line to Stanyell Road. Questions, comments on introductory 367? Hearing none? Motion?
So moved.
Been moved and
Second.
seconded. All in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
Ayes have it. Thank you. Introductory number 368 is authorizing appropriations and agreement for the 2018 Preventative Maintenance Northeast Group 1. Questions, comments?
So moved.
It's been moved. Second.
Second?
All in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
Ayes have it. Thank you. Introductory number 369 is a bond ordinance of the City of Rochester, New York, authorizing the issuance of $825,000 in bonds of said city to finance the construction and resident project representation services related to the 2018 Preventative Maintenance Northeast Group 1 project. There are questions or comments on 369?
So moved?
Moved by
Second.
second. All in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
Aye. Ayes have it. Thank you. Introductory number 370 is amending ordinance number 2017-12 and appropriating funds for the 2020 Preventative Maintenance Northeast Group number 11 project. Questions, comments?
So moved.
Been moved. Is there a second?
Second?
Second. All in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
Aye. Introductory number 371 is authorizing an agreement and appropriating funds for the Frederick Douglass Community Library Green Roof Project. Questions, comments, or concerns?
So moved?
It's been moved. Is there a second?
Second.
Second. It's been moved and seconded. Before we call for the vote,
question.
Councilmember Patterson.
So, looks like a wonderful project. Real simple, basic question. Is Stantec willing to comply or provide any information regarding our MWB requirements that came into effect after this RFP was let? Is that something that they would consider, or is that something we can have a conversation with them about?
Well, that's a good question. We just had a meeting with all of our prime contractors, our MBE contractors, our consulting engineers, just yesterday at the Kate Gleason Auditorium at the Boston Library. We had over 30 firms there, and they all went through the new requirements for our MBE requirements. Dr. Ann Kress was there. The mayor gave the actual keynote opening remarks, and they're all in regards to meeting our requirements. This particular RFP was actually let before our requirements took into place. So for us to tell them to go back and retroactively change that, I think we changed the playing field, but they're committed to making sure that they meet all of our requirements, and they're right in the front row going through the entire 3-hour presentation that we presented yesterday. So all of our engineering firms, all of our primes, they know about our program, and I feel that we are on a great start and a great path to make this a reality within the city.
Well, I am happy to hear that they are all in and totally on board. And I understand that they aren't required to participate, but would they be willing to at least share their results as they go along, provide data? You know, it is the Frederick Douglass Library.
We had goals prior to, so they will have to comply with the goals that were set prior to. So the new goals just set those goals higher.
Right.
And I believe that it was at 20% for minority-owned businesses, and I believe 15% for women-owned businesses. So they will comply with that. And our MWBE officer, Constance Mitchell Jefferson, will be working with them to make sure that they comply with the goals that were set prior to this particular one that went into effect on July 1st.
Thank you. Wonderful.
Thank you. This has been moved and seconded, and we can get ready to vote on it. The other thing I just wanted to say is, Commissioner Jones, I believe is this the third green roof that the city's going to have, or the fourth?
This will be the third green roof that we have. We have a green roof here at City Hall. We have rain gardens. We have permeable pavement. This is part of our sustainability effort that we feel that we're at the forefront doing.
So thank you. Thank you. Anything else? If not, all in favor?
Aye.
Aye. Thank you. Introductory number 372, authorizing payment with changes for Reynolds Street at School Number 2. A public hearing will be held at 5 p.m. after the October 11th, 2018 committee meeting. And because there will be a public hearing, if there's not any questions or comments, a motion to consider?
So moved.
Second. All in favor?
Aye.
Aye. The ayes have it. Thank you. Introductory number 373 is authorizing an amendatory agreement for the Reynolds Street and Seward Street Rehabilitation Project. Questions and comments? Hearing none. Have a motion?
So moved.
Second.
All in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
Thank you. Introductory number 374 is authorizing additional funding and amending ordinance number 2017-360 in relation to the Main Street Streetscapes and Pedestrian Wayfinding Enhancement Projects, Phases 1 and 2. Questions, comments, concerns?
So moved.
Moved. Second. All in favor?
Aye.
Ayes have it. Introductory number 375 is amending ordinance number 2018-137, authorizing an agreement for the water system improvements. Questions, comments, or concerns? Motion to approve?
So moved.
Second. All in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
Aye. The ayes have it. Thank you. Is there any other business to come before the Parks and Public Works Committee? Hearing none, we are adjourned. Thank you.
Did the clerk please call a roll?
Councilmember Lightfoot, Councilmember Gruber,
Here.
Councilmember Ortiz, Vice President McFadden,
Here.
President Scott.
Here.
Introductory item number 376, appropriating funds and amending the 2018-19 budget for the operations of the Greater Rochester Area Narcotics Enforcement Team. Any comments or questions on this item? Hearing none, I'll entertain a motion.
So moved.
Second.
All in favor? Aye. Against? Motion carries. Introductory item number 377, authorizing an agreement and funding for the Motor Vehicle Theft and Insurance Fraud Prevention Program. Comments or questions?
I got a question. I failed to answer during our review. Who is the alarm training for?
It's for the officers that attend the training.
Why would they get alarm training about operating alarms? If this is about car theft, is it for the alarms on the cars, or what? Explain, please.
The Rochester Police Department has an alarm system that we use. It's the VARDA alarm system that we insert into vehicles, in particular areas that are having theft problems, and that's what we use it for.
So we place an alarm on target vehicles or something? Is that what you said?
That is correct.
Okay.
So it'd be, in particular, be a specific car that we own. We'll put an alarm inside the car, and then when someone activates the alarm, then we respond.
Okay. Thank you.
Any other comments or questions on this item? Hearing none, I'll entertain a motion.
So moved.
Second.
All in favor? Aye. Against? I didn't hear aye.
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 Motion carries. Guess we all need magnifying glass. Introductory item number 378, authorizing an intermunicipal agreement and funding for the Stop DWI program. Comments or questions? Hearing none, I'll entertain a motion.
So moved.
Second.
All in favor?
Aye.
Against? Motion carries. Introductory item number 379, agreement with the city school district for sharing the maintenance for playground apparatus and fields in the parks. Comments or questions? Hearing none, I'll entertain a motion.
So moved.
Second.
All in favor?
Aye.
Against? Motion carries. Introductory item number 380, authorizing a grant agreement for the 2018 State Homeland Security Program. Comments or questions on this item?
Move to adopt.
Second.
All in favor?
Aye.
Against? Motion carries. Introductory item number 381, amending the 2018-19 budget for the police department. Comments or questions on this item? Hearing none, I'll entertain a motion.
So moved.
Second.
All in favor?
Aye.
Against? Motion carries. Introductory item number 382, authorizing an agreement and amending the budget for the Flower City AmeriCorps program. Comments or questions? Councilmember Gruber?
Thank you. Just one quick question. Can I have a little sense of the history of kind of how the Flower City AmeriCorps program has changed from the last round? Because we had it went away, and it's back now, and kind of how all that happened.
Yeah, so we had the program for the last 3 years, and actually continues on through November 1st. So the current program is still in action. There are still members who are completing their hours right now, and that really had a focus on a different focus on placements. This round of placements really is around connecting more members with serving in community-based organizations and service, oriented more around service. So
It's direct service. It's not Vista. It's AmeriCorps.
it's AmeriCorps.
Gotcha.
Yeah, yep. It's our chapter of our chapter of AmeriCorps. So similar, but not Vista.
And is there a connection between does this AmeriCorps, the one run out of the U of R, which is Vista, and the one out of MCC, is there kind of collaboration in terms of making sure that they're all going to complementary places?
There's some level of administration by the state or the governance process for the funder, but I mean, we certainly network with them, but there's not, it's not a parallel or complete collaborative process.
Got you.
We all operate different programs.
Got you. Just last question. So with this new group, it's about 30 some odd individuals, and about 20 will be placed in community programs that haven't been identified yet. How will recruiting happen of the actual members, and recruiting for the community programs to place them at occur?
So the recruitment for the members is underway currently. There are information sessions that are scheduled right now. We've been advertising for that. So the recruitment is underway right now, and this is for a January start. And then for the placement sites, we listed in the item, or at least in the answer, a number of sites that we had reached out to in advance that would be interested in having placement. So we're following through with them as the members come on board.
Great. Well, congratulations. It's a great program to bring back to the city.
Thanks.
Any other comments or questions on this item? Hearing none, I'll entertain a motion.
So second.
All in favor?
Aye.
Aye. Against? Motion carries. Introductory item number 388, authorizing an agreement with United Negro College Fund, Inc. Comments or questions on this item? Hearing none, I'll entertain a motion.
So moved.
Second.
All in favor? Aye. Against? Motion carries. Is there any other business to come before the committee? Hearing none, we are adjourned.
Thank you. We do. Okay. Yeah. Is that no? Call the committee of the whole to order. The clerk will call the roll.
Councilmember Clifford?
Here.
Councilmember Evans? Councilmember Gruber?
Here.
Councilmember Lightfoot? Councilmember Ortiz? Councilmember Patterson? Councilmember Spall?
Here.
Vice President McFadden? President Scott.
Thank you. Introductory number 387, resolution confirming the appointment of the Director of the Emergency Communications Department. Are there questions, comments, concerns? Is there a motion to adopt?
So moved?
Is there a second?
Second.
All in favor?
Aye.
And I say aye. Motion passes. Thank you. We will begin the public hearings in 5 minutes. I think it's 5 minutes.
Please take your seats.
This is a meeting of the Rochester City Council, a public hearing. The meeting will come to order, and the clerk will call the roll.
Councilmember Clifford.
Here.
Councilmember Evans. Councilmember Gruber.
Here.
Councilmember Lightfoot. Councilmember Ortiz. Councilmember Patterson. Here. Councilmember Spall.
Here.
Vice President McFadden. Here. President Scott.
Here. Now I ask the clerk to begin the hearings.
Pursuant to law, public hearing will now be had on the following matter: determinations and findings relating to the acquisition of properties to effectuate the Bull's Head Urban Renewal Plan, introductory number 355. Any persons desiring to speak in reference to said matter will now be heard.
Come forward to the podium, please. Would you please state your name? You have 3 minutes to deliver your remarks.
Thank you. My name is David Ross. I'm an attorney. I represent Wayne Haskins, the owner of property located at 924 and 930 West Main Street. Mr. Haskins acquired this property back in the 1970s and has continuously operated his business, Universal Heating and Cooling, out of the premises since that time. He has maintained the building in good condition and has maintained his business using all of the structure for either storefront, office space, or storage of his business materials. For him, this would be difficult to replace. He does provide a neighborhood service. At various times through his ownership of this property, the city has actually helped him improve it. I think there were some facade renovations and a truck bay that were built in part with assistance of the city over the years he's been there. He is interested in continuing in operating from this location. As recently as earlier this summer, he was informed that the acquisition or the planning for the area would not necessarily include acquisition of his property, but would entail some renovation and upgrading of it, which he is happy to do. He wants to stay and continue to operate in the same location. He's unaware of any reason that the building would be needed to come down at this time. He would prefer assistance in maintaining it or allow him to maintain it, update it, perhaps upgrade it, and continue operating. The business that he runs is in conformity with the purpose of the redevelopment plan, as I understand it, is to provide a diverse mix of commercial entities serving the community and the residential neighborhood. And that, in effect, is what he's been doing since he's been there. His building and the building which I believe is attached to it at the corner, and I'm blanking on the street that it intersects with, where West Avenue and Chi-Light diverge, is
New York Street.
there are two buildings that are unattached to any other, both newer than some of the other buildings in the area, and could very easily remain in place. Both are fully occupied, and he is interested in maintaining his business at this location. Thank you for your time.
Additional speakers?
Hello, my name is Melissa O'Jean. I'm representing DePaul Properties. As a major stakeholder in the Bull's Head neighborhood, we operate businesses, apartments, and facilities at 770 West Main Street and 719 Brown Street. We offer our full support for the proposed acquisitions identified in the Bull's Head Urban Renewal Plan. The revitalization of the Bull's Head neighborhood is long awaited, and we appreciate the opportunity to be involved with this significant endeavor. Thank you.
Additional speakers?
Yes, how you doing? My name is Francis Wintercorn. I own a property at 932 West Main. It's occupied by two businesses, Mr. Doug's Deli, and I own an auto body shop in the back. I purchased the building 8 years ago. I've got 3 years left on my mortgage. I've been there 20 years. I really don't want to relocate. The building gives me opportunities of making changes in my life for me and my daughters. I got 1 year left on the lease to honor with the gentleman in the deli. I am considering taking the deli over with my daughters and make a change in my life. And those are opportunities that may be taken away from me. And I would like to give back to the community, a new store, clean the building up and make it look really presentable for the purpose of the city. Those are my options in life, and I would like to be there for you guys. Thank you.
Thank you.
Good evening, Council. My name is Michael Owen, representing St. Mary's and Rochester Regional Health. I'm the Vice President of Real Estate and Construction for the organization. I'm here to support this initiative. We're really excited to see this change that's long overdue and that would serve both the community and our patients and our customers and our staff that are there. So we just want to let you know that we are happy to see this come forward and offer our full support.
Are there any additional speakers? There being none, the hearing is closed.
Pursuant to law, public hearing will now be had on the following matter: amending the zoning map for 5 and 15 Flint Street, introductory number 361. Any persons desiring to speak in reference to said matter will now be heard.
Good afternoon, Council. My name is Patricia Neal, I'm a resident of the Plex neighborhood and a member of the Plex Neighborhood Association, and I would like you all to know that I oppose the amendment to the zoning.
Evening, Council. I'm Jesse Bowen. I live in the Plex neighborhood, there for 13 years. Also a business owner in the neighborhood. I also oppose this change, and so.
Good evening. My name is Amy Kendall. I'm a partner with Knopf Shaw. We represent the applicant, 1 Flint Street LLC, and we are requesting rezoning of 5 and 15 Flint Street from a R1 low-density residential district to the R3 high-density residential district. As you all are probably aware, at this point, these two parcels are a part of the vacuum oil brownfield opportunities area. They have been the subject of extensive planning on the part of the city, both in terms of the BOA itself and a very significant environmental assessment resulting in the GEIS, and I believe you're addressing some findings of fact on that in the next meeting. All of those planning documents, the results of that planning point to the rezoning of these two parcels as requested. That's specifically contemplated in the GEIS. It's contemplated in the BOA. And we are simply requesting that the map be amended in order to make those plans come to fruition. Single-family homes as currently zoned are not appropriate in this area. Knopf Shaw represents the applicant in connection with its work through the Brownfield Cleanup Program. So both of these parcels are part of the Brownfield Cleanup Program, have undergone extensive testing, and are now proceeding to a remediation plan. Knopfshaw also represents the applicant in connection with environmental litigation, seeking to hold those responsible for the contamination responsible for the cleanup. So all of these things are happening in connection with these two parcels. The applicant is proposing a multifamily housing project, including affordable and student housing, green space, and a number of other projects that my client can speak to in more detail. Thank you for your time.
Hello. Hello, my name is Dorian Hall from the Plymouth Exchange Neighborhood Association. I live at 1075 South Plymouth Avenue, and the Plex Neighborhood Association is requesting that City Council hold it in commission for two reasons. We are currently negotiating with DHD with a community benefit agreement, and that agreement has specific benefits for the community, and to allow zoning to change kind of takes a little leverage away from the community to negotiate with DHD. And we're looking for the community benefit agreement to basically make sure all of the community members and the whole city as a whole benefit. The brownfield is a contaminated site right on the Genesee River. Not only Plex, but many other city organizations and neighborhoods are going to be enjoying this space. The goal is to make sure the cleanup is the highest level, because there's some agents that cause cancer and make you sick. And so our goal is to make sure first we have the community benefit agreement, so that's why we request City Council holding a commission. And also, I know there was a push because of the request of maybe possibly not getting funds in time, or the 30th of the end of the month. We can ask for City Council to do what is called a special session. I know that's never been done before, but a special session would give us more time to negotiate with DHD. And last but not least, in working with New York State, there's something called a, can't think of it right now, but there's another agreement. So the goal is to ask City Council to extend or sustain this so that we can continue our community benefit agreement. And I just wanted to ask that you guys request this packet. This was our last meeting. The Project Advisory Committee, May 23rd, 2018, Vacuum Oil Brownfield, was at our last PAC meeting, and this is going to explain the cleanup level, what New York State requires, and the process, hopefully making sure that we get the best cleanup. Thank you.
Hi, my name is Janet Williams. I live in the area. Not only do I live in the area, actually my property borders the area. And so my concern is that this hearing is taking place way ahead of time. I think that the cleanup should take place first, because we're talking about whether it's low level or low density residential or high density residential. We're still talking about residential, where people will be actually living and breathing and eating and sleeping, not just coming and leaving. They're actually going to be living there. And the nature of brownfield is that it is contaminated, it's highly contaminated. And so before we talk about where to rezone it, we really should talk about cleaning it up first and then come back to the table. I understand there is a proposal from the developer to clean it up, but that's at the lowest level possible for a contaminated area, the very lowest. And the recommendation for a residential area is that it be at the highest. So that is my concern. And by the way, since I do live in an area, I've asked for testing many times. I was told over the years, leave it alone, let it go. And by the way, you're up on a hill, so any contaminants wouldn't affect you. Recently, the DEC finally did a testing for my site, and I can guarantee you that's not the case. They did find high levels. Not only did they find the levels of chemicals that were in the brownfield area on my property, but high levels. And they're here, from arsenic to components that will be considered part of petroleum, chromium, pricing, high levels. And we're not talking about, some of them are triple. For example, arsenic, what they would find normal is 1/16. There's 21 with me in my property. Chromium 36, they find that okay, acceptable. I'm 40. And there's just so many other things. One part for benzofluorothene. You can see it, I can spell it for you, but instead of one part, I've got 3 parts on my property. So they told me that these contaminants won't go uphill, but they do leach. And that's really my big concern, is that people are going to be moving in there. By the way, that level that they want to do, the lowest level, you don't do the level and then walk away. You have to sustain it, make sure that it's not compromised because of weather or whatever. You have to make sure that cap is in place, because you've not completely removed any contaminants. So you just kind of capped it, but you have to monitor that over the years, and that's very difficult for a developer to do, especially if the developer changes hands. So I'm really recommending that you please consider the complete cleanup of the area first before you even talk about any type of residential zoning, high or low. Thank you.
Good evening. My name is Barbara Ashman. I live on Plymouth Avenue for about 55, 56 years. And I've never been having a problem like we're having now. Now even my water is tasting bad, and I'm pretty sure it's coming from where we need to check the soil and find out what's going in the soil. So first of all, I don't approve of 515, because all they're going to do is get up there and mess it all up again and cause more problems for the rest of us. Now we got to get on one accord with all of this stuff so everybody can have a good life, a healthy one. And like I said, my name is Barbara Ashley. I've been over there for quite a few years, and I never had the problem that we are having now. So it's about time everybody wake up their brain cells and start doing something about this thing, rather than sitting down on the bus, figure they don't want to do this, they don't want to do that. But if in order to get anywhere, they have to cooperate with the Black Cub community in order to get a better understanding. That's all I have to say.
Sorry, Dorian Hall again. I know I spoke, but can everyone stand who's supporting us here, please? Thank you.
Additional speakers?
Hi, my name's Sinead, and just briefly, I think that this proposal is directly averse to the people living in that community. It's directly averse to people who have been living in that community for a long time. Every time I walk down Exchange Street, I see children running around, lots of kids. So, like, I know it's weird to be imploring to the morality of, like, a council member, but not in an offensive way to anyone. But, you know, just try to, like, think about the people who are going to be affected by this. Having a community benefit agreement doesn't necessarily mean that the area can't be developed. It could be a mutually beneficial thing, but I think that the city needs to be thinking first and foremost about its residents before development profits.
Additional speakers?
Good evening. My name is Thomas Masacci. I'm the managing partner of DHD Ventures. I don't think I can sum up in 3 minutes the 20-year study that's been going on in this neighborhood for the redevelopment through several different administrations and neighborhood changeovers as far as leaders. DHD's been involved for 9 years. We have set aside our development and taken a back seat to, I think, every agency within New York State to allow this process to move forward, from the BOA study to allowing DEC to do more studies and drilling and penetrations to this property to understand the impact of the environment on all around it and its surrounding neighborhood. We are at a point as a developer where we are asking nothing more that's been asked by the city's agencies for a rezoning and redevelopment for the community who had implementation in what this project should be. We are cooperating with the neighborhood. We meet with them extensively at their will. We are willing to enter into a community benefit agreement, but it has to be in an agreement that works for us as a developer, because this is private land, it's a private project, and we are not saying we won't get to an agreement, but putting this project on hold is no question to me, putting it in jeopardy to actually get to the end result of what we all want, a cleaner site for the neighborhood. And DHD is in negotiations and settlement agreements with Exxon. And later this month, we are in mediation through the judge's request to have a settlement. And Exxon has set aside funds to do the cleanup that the DEC recommends for this project to go forward. We don't pick the cleanup as a developer. The DEC picks the cleanup. DEC puts the regulations and oversight into that cleanup process. And again, we are here to cooperate. We have been. We've put our project on hold for 9 years or more to see this through so everybody is happy. And at this point, we're asking for all agencies involved, and students, including City Council, to allow us to go to the next step, to allow us to start the site plan process, which will have city and community involvement in finalizing the project that everybody has put forward. Thank you.
Hi, my name is Charlotte Baltus. I live at 50 Brighton Street. I'm just a concerned resident of the city of Rochester. I don't live in Plex, but I mean, this brownfield has been here for 100 years. These people have been living with this for 100 years. I don't see why this process needs to be rushed. DHD Ventures purchased this property in 2010, I believe, for a very good price. Right about exactly the time that the vacuum oil site was designated as a brownfield opportunity area. So I think they saw their paycheck coming, and they've waited a lot of years for it, but this community deserves a chance to negotiate with them for a good agreement to the benefit of the neighborhood. Thank you.
My name is Bruce Mellon. I'm with the Upper Mount Hope Neighborhood Association. I'm the president. I believe this process of converting to R3 zoning at this point is very much premature. We should wait the outcome of the negotiations going on, and by approving it at this point, you basically would be undercutting negotiations or serious negotiations by the developer. We really think the community benefit agreement ought to go to some conclusion, and on when the conclusion is reached, whether it be an agreement or whether it be an impasse, then the committee and the council will then know what open issues are still outstanding and where they may perhaps want to go at that point. But I think that needs to wait further negotiations on the community benefit agreement, and they need to be in good faith. By going to R3, as I said, at this point would be undercutting those negotiations. Thank you.
Are there any additional speakers?
Good evening. Jody Fiore. I'm a resident of the Beechwood neighborhood and here in support of the Plex neighborhood residents and their negotiations for a community benefit agreement. As you may know, community benefit agreements are a tool that neighborhoods across the country are starting to use more and more of. Many municipalities have embraced them and have even helped facilitate the securing of community benefits for the residents. As been stated here tonight, we know that this brownfield has been here for a long time. We know that the residents have had to live here with this brownfield for years. We know that DHD stands to benefit from the cleanup of this brownfield and from the development. And what we're asking is to give the residents a chance to benefit as well, right? And to give them the opportunity to really negotiate in good faith so that they have time to get something for the community. Because again, we know DHD is going to get what's coming to theirs. It's fine, it's a free market society, it's their property, great. But what is the benefit to the broader community that had to live with this brownfield for years when public funding is being used to come in and help them with their development? We want to see that some of that development comes off and benefits the community. It's as simple as that. So I hope that you'll consider what you've heard here tonight and that you'll give them the time to put that community benefit agreement together. Thank you.
I'm Frank Reagan. I'm representing the Rochester Sierra Club. As a Sierra Club, we certainly want to see brownfields cleaned up. But a new stage is happening is where it's not only the environmental aspects of it, but the neighborhoods that these brownfields have ravaged the members of the neighborhoods for years and years. And I've been listening in on the conversations between DHD and Plex, and they seem to be going pretty good. And so I don't see a rush now why to approve this zoning when they'll lose their leverage. One of the things that Plex is looking for is this stuff in writing. A lot has been promised, and a lot of hopes have been brought forth for the Plex neighborhood for this, to get this area that's been contaminated for how long, and they really don't know what the complications have been. It's been here. There's no need to rush through this, and would really like time to be able to get some of this stuff in writing. I think when DHD saw that it would actually be an agreement where there's actually writing and there's actually responsibility, they hiccuped. And that's pretty sad that that would stop. You know, it's one thing to make promises, but let's get those promises in writing. Sierra Club wants to see the brownfield cleaned up, and in this new era, we want to see environmental justice also.
Jonathan Harden with Many Neighbors Building Neighborhoods. We want to see all brownfields in the city cleaned up. But we also would like to ask that you stand with Plex and give them the additional time so that they can negotiate this neighborhood development agreement and can move forward in good faith that once this property is cleaned up properly, the community can benefit from what is developed in their area and their homes. So we ask that you give them that time that they need, the time they're requesting tonight. Thank you.
Are there any additional speakers? If there are none, this hearing is closed.
Pursuant to law, public hearing will now be had on the following matter: amending 2009-10, 2014-15, 2015-16, 2016-17, and 2017-18. Consolidated Community Development Plans, and authorizing appropriations of community development block grant funds to infrastructure improvements. Introductory number 362. Any persons desiring to speak in reference to said matter will now be heard.
There are no speakers. The hearing is closed.
Pursuant to law, public hearing will now be had on the following matter: authorizing pavement width changes for Reynolds Street at School Number 2. Introductory number 372. Any persons desiring to speak in reference to said matter will now be heard.
There are no speakers. Hearing is closed. There are no additional items. The hearing is adjourned.